Got one in heaven.
One enemy remaining.
Was.
I see nothing.
On me and hookah. Yep. Here we go. Here we go, chat.
Wait.
Here we go,
Oh,
chat.
Jesus.
Here we go, chat.
Last player standing.
Here we go, chat. Here we go. Here we go, chat. Here we. So, before we get into the tier list, guys, I have a sponsor today that has been very, very kind to me, and I would appreciate it if you guys just take a quick look and check out this game. It's a game that reminds me a lot of old school RPGs that I used to play growing up. The combat is turn-based, and it is a dark RPG with magic involved and big champions, and different races, classes, and cool champions. That game is Raid Shadow Legends. The game is free to play, and it's also cross-platform on PC as well as mobile devices, being iPhone and Android. So right now I'm level 12, and my name in-game is JTails, so those of you guys who end up getting the game, you can add me up and we can go on raids together. The daily login rewards has doubled from 90 days to 180 days recently, and each day you can claim your free rewards, which are energy refills, silver and gems, sometimes shards, and they give you a free barbarian legendary champion called Scale of the Drake. She looks pretty sick. If you click on the link in the description right now, and if you're a new player, you will get 100,000 silver right now, as well as 50 gems and 1 energy refill. And you get a free champion called the Adjudicator. She also looks really sick too. This is the champion that they're giving you for free for being a new player, and you will find extra rewards in your inbox the next 30 days only. Your inbox is in the top right corner, by the way, so that's where you can access them. So definitely click that link in the description to get started. I'm going to show you guys one of the battle dungeon bosses. I think it's a pretty cool mode in the game. You get a lot of good items from it. And here we are up to the boss. He kind of looks like the guy from Shrek, right? We're going to go ahead and start with an AoE on these guys. Alright, my team is definitely on the ropes, but I think we got him. This should be it. Almost. One more. And... yes! Got him. Alright, we only had 2 left. That was close. Cool. And then we get some rewards for beating him, and our people level up. So it's a pretty good deal. Alright guys, without further ado, let's get to this Valorant tier list, shall we? So the first character in my tier list is going to be Sage, all the way at the top at S tier. This character is insane. I actually use her for all of my solo queue matches, because if I don't have a team that can coordinate with me, I'm going to need to try and carry, right? And if I'm top fragger, MVP of the team, I'm going to need that self-sustain, right? I can't rely on another Sage to heal me because they're either going to die or they're just not paying attention. Maybe they're on cooldown. Sage can heal any character, even if they're at 10 HP, all the way back up to 100. So when you're playing a 5v5, if you get that full heal off, technically you're playing a 6v5. And if you can do it again, you're playing a 7v5. And if you res, right? So you're always getting that value of an extra person on your team. Because of that, I think Sage is unrivaled as a character to have as a teammate. Res is obviously insane for, obvious reasons. You get to bring back somebody, so if you're not the carry, you can revive the carry, and if you're in a 2v2 situation, you can increase the odds, make it a 3v2 situation, right? Her wall peaks and wall setups are really good. You can block people off from accessing the spike. So either way, all in all, I think Sage is number 1 in the game at the moment. Also joining Sage for similar reasons in S tier is going to be Phoenix. I think Phoenix is extremely self-reliant. He can, once again, heal himself, but he can use those same abilities to be offensive as well as defensive. So he has self-sustain, one of the only characters in the game that also does, alongside Sage, meaning that he technically gets an extra life as long as he doesn't die in a firefight. His ult is not only good for gathering information, you can peek corners and get on points and figure out where people are, and you can get picks with it without sacrificing your main life. So essentially, it's like adding another player to the team for a small period of time. His flashbang, also one of the better offensive abilities in the game, as well as great for peeking corners, so you don't have to peek and die. You can actually just use his flashbang to get an advantage and initiate team fights. Third, and also in S tier, is going to be Sova. Sova forces you to either wait out the reconnaissance arrow or to shoot at it, which also gives your team a lot of information. It lets people know that there are people around the corner, or it kind of keeps them pinned down while they're hiding for that. The recon drone as well, obviously the downside is that he has to pilot it, so he's not protecting his body. It still gains a lot of information, especially with tracking dart. It's really good for if you're the last person on the team and you're trying to figure out how to win this 1v2 or 1v3. You can identify the locations of some of your opponents. Having this information is huge when you have competent teammates that are going to pick them off after knowing where they're located. As for his ult, I think it's pretty solid overall. If you can identify where a team is hiding, people grouped up together, then you can get some pretty good picks with his ult through walls. One of the few abilities that actually does go through walls in this game. Now, moving down to A tier. First up is going to be Cypher. I think that Cypher is also very, very valuable. He gathers a ton of information for your team and your teammates, and information is crucial in this game. Knowing where your opponents are, knowing if it's safe to proceed. The tripwires is probably my favorite part about this character. You can set them around the map and let them work independently. You'll always know whether they're flanking, whether they're on A, B, or C, and you and your team can actually go to a different section of the map and fortify it. Now, the reason that I don't put him in S tier is because I think that his ult is a little underwhelming, especially in the event that Cypher's the last person on the team and you use his ult. It does tell you where they are, but there is no comeback factor from that ultimate. It's just kind of like, you know where everybody is, but that doesn't completely help you if you're 1 versus 2, 1 versus 3. You can kind of, you can't really make the comeback there. But if Sova's alone and you know where they are, you can use your ulti and maybe get a pick or two and then win the 1v1 firefight in the end, right? So my reason for not putting Cypher in S tier is that he doesn't really have any comeback factor. It's kind of just all reconnaissance and information. Also joining us in A tier is Viper, and I think that Viper would be in S tier if her abilities didn't hurt her teammates so much. And they're a little less useful on defense, right? A lot of her abilities are very offensive oriented, kind of pushing the bomb. You can plant the spike and then ulti with her and protect it, and just kind of use her ulti to really hold down the position. Can't really see through it, even though it does get countered by Raze and to an extent Brimstone. Her ulti does get countered by large AoE damage, so you can't really just hide in it and expect it to work. But all in all, I think that Viper is one of the best characters in the game on offense. So definitely I think she's worth considering learning. It's just kind of hard because she does also harm your teammates as well. Breach. I actually think Breach is very underrated. This character is very, very good. He has a blinding ability that goes through walls. He has a stun ability that goes through walls that covers a really large area. And his ultimate, have you seen the range of it? It just covers so much space, goes through all the walls, and it's just really good for disrupting team composition, team positioning, and it stuns them momentarily. So I think Breach is actually just really underrated, and people should try him out more, try and learn him a little bit better. I'm going to be actually putting out a Breach tutorial very soon as I keep on experimenting with him and learning his optimal strats. Alright, now going down to B tier, I'm going to have to put Brimstone here, I think that Brimstone has very, very good utility with the smoke bombs. He can put 3 of them down anywhere, almost anywhere on the map. And he doesn't have to be so close to them, which is really cool. He kind of almost has global access. I actually think one of my favorite abilities that Brimstone has is the stimulus, the stim drone, that makes your firing rate faster for you and your teammates. This is really, really good if you're in a team fight or a 1v1 firefight. You're going to be putting out more damage than they're putting out to you, as long as you don't get headshotted instantly. And I think that this ability is, I never see people take it. It's extremely good, and people need to take it more. Obviously, his ultimate's one of the best in the game. If they're defusing or they're planting the spike and you know their position, Sova, Cypher, you know their position, let it rain. Let it rain fire on them, and you can actually get 1, 2, or even 3 picks sometimes with this. It forces people out of position, forces them to leave corners and to get out of the situation, and then your teammates can pick them off. So I think he has a really strong ulti, and I think the stim beacon is also one of his best abilities. I think the smoke is secondary to that. Now, I know a lot of you guys are going to complain and be very surprised, but I don't think Raze is as strong as people believe she is. I think Raze is in B tier, right? You can hear those grenades coming. You can hear them flying through the air. As soon as you hear that noise, switch to your knife and move it. Don't stand still to wait to see where the grenade's gonna land. Like, that's the thing. And I realize that the game is very early on, so a lot of people still don't have these reactions or reflexes or game sense, but I think as time moves forward, Raze is going to get progressively worse in the meta. Another thing, the Boom Buddy, or the Boom Bot, is that I actually really like. I think that's one of her better abilities, and it forces people to either shoot it or to get out of the way, which gives information, which I think is super strong. But, you know, people complaining about her ulti and her nades just need to improve a little bit more at the game and get that better game sense, to be honest with you guys. Her ulti, if she uses it, you can hear it happen. Don't huddle with your teammates when you hear her scream. Don't stand in a spot where you can't move out of. The splash radius is really large, but you don't want to confine yourself. Yes, she can shoot your feet, but guess what? The problem with Raze's ulti is that you can headshot her very, very quickly before she gets it off. So as long as you have, you know, you guys both see each other, it's a projectile and bullets are hit scan. So as soon as you kind of get eyes on her, you have to land that headshot. And at high level, that's going to happen a lot more commonly. Whereas at the lower level, it's not going to be expected as much, if that makes sense, because, you know, people aren't going to be aiming as well at that level. My tier list is kind of more for optimized situations. I think that at higher level, people are going to see, you know, the Raze with the rocket launcher and then just boom, headshot. She's not going to have a chance to shoot it out or to aim it before she gets headshotted or opt or whatever. So that's kind of why I put her a little bit lower. And I think that the grenade, you know, people just need to learn how to react to it better and kind of react quicker. Switch to the knife and move it. Anyway, if you disagree, please let me know in the comments why you disagree. I'd be very interested in hearing why. And in C tier, I'm going to be putting Omen here. I think that Omen, while he has smokes, a lot of other characters in the game also have smoke balls, right? So that's not really anything too new or too helpful. His teleport, a lot of his abilities have very slow startup. His animations are very slow. His teleport's very slow. You can hear him teleporting and reappearing. He makes noises and he kind of like has a voice line, right? Even his ultimate is sometimes a little lackluster. Whenever I hear Omen teleport and we don't have eyes on the spike, I assume he's going to the opposite part of the map to plant. And a lot of people don't realize this yet. They just kind of let him plant, and then everyone's like, oh shoot, like he's over on C and we're all on A. Well, by the time we make it there, the bomb's gonna explode. But as soon as you hear that ult start, you should already be booking it to the other side of the map. Obviously you can mind game you can go see T spawn, but for the most part, I just feel like his abilities are a little slow and startup. The utility is a little... you can't really use them in firefights, you know, if you're taking cover and you start using that ability, you're going to get jumped out on and headshotted. His teleport, you know, it leaves him very vulnerable. There's a little bit about Omen that I feel like is a little underwhelming, and potentially he starts losing value at higher level. I do really like his blinding ability though. I think that that's one of his strongest abilities, and I think that the ability to blind opponents and that it gets larger the farther distance it travels is huge. It goes through walls. So for that purpose, I think Omen's really great. He can blind oppers and blind heaven and you know, help the team push forward. But aside from that, I feel like the rest of his abilities are just a little underwhelming. As for Jett, I feel kind of similarly. A lot of her abilities are simply movement, and you know, being in the air in this game is really not good. Once again, you can hear when she uses her lift ability, you can hear the sound effects, so all you have to know is look up. You can hear her dash happen. So many in these compilations, I'll see people, you know, let the Jett go above them and they're just looking around like goofs, and then she comes down with a shotgun on top of their head. And it's like, if you hear the little whoosh sound effect, you know she's going to be high up in the air, her accuracy is going to be bad unless she has ulti, and you could just shoot her down from the air. Same thing for her glide, you can hear it happen. So a lot of what Jett does is very telegraphed, and I think that once people catch on to the game sense and the sound effects, they will be able to pick her off a little bit more quickly and not let her get these surprise, you know, week one situations that aren't really realistic at higher levels. Her ulti's pretty good. Throwing those 5 knives with no recoil is amazing. Great for getting picks. And don't get me wrong, her dash is really good for getting out of situations. For example, you're in the middle of Brimstone ult or Wraith throws some grenades. You can just dash right out of it, right? So it's really good for getting out of bad spots. However, I don't really see too much other value aside from like getting out of pinned down corners, traveling through corridors, you know, escaping explosions, which you can do with the knife anyway. So for the most part, I feel like her ulti is one of her best ability, and even that, you know, it does refresh, and she can technically ace a team with it, but she's just like an offensive hero with not much other utility in my opinion. So for me, she's a little underwhelming, even though I think she's super cool. I love the character design. I just don't think she's that strong in terms of a meta character. So anyway guys, I know a lot of people are going to have differing opinions about this tier list. I'm curious to hear what your opinions are and why you agree or disagree with me. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. I'd greatly appreciate that. And consider subscribing to the channel for more Valorant content like this. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you all next time.